Roll call.
Smith,
Adams.
Woods. Approval of the minutes of the January and February meetings as corrected.
I move we accept them.
second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the January and February minutes. Any council discussion?
There is a lot to read in last month's
Yeah.
minutes. And there was one comment, let's see here. When we got into the trailer stuff. Let's see, something about. No, it's back here. I should circle it. Well, I can't find it, but it was inferred that even though the trailers might be in compliance with the area they were in, but it could lead to lawsuits or something to that effect, and I just didn't catch that.
I think that was a quote.
Yeah,
I think that was a quote.
a quote, okay.
Where is that?
It's not in Bill.
That was on the fourth page in February.
Which
But
page?
January looks okay now, but, and I did enjoy very much the February. It was very, very entertaining, but I do have some objections to some of the stuff because it seems there's some editorializing going on. That one, taking this to court, that's on page 4 since everybody's
That's-
looking for it anyway. I believe at that time Mary was talking about some other people that she had talked about and their comments including taking it to court. Mary wasn't saying that she
No
was going
way.
to take it to court.
No way.
So that should be made clear.
Well, I will listen to the tape yet again.
And a couple other things I would consider to be editorializing, and I don't know how to tell you to correct all of them, but some of them, it just seems like you kind of put a spin on it and characterize things. Although did not permit the mayor to respond, finally would get, it's almost like reading a little novel or something like that, and I think that this is not the place for that. I mean, she digressed in saying it was acceptable for a citizen to come into the city hall and vent aggressively.
I don't know what page you're on.
I'm on page 3 now, so.
Which page is that?
The third one down from the top on February.
Okay.
And it said that it was okay for them, but not for, but when the city clerk responded negatively, that was unacceptable. Vent aggressively, I don't think those words were used, were they?
Well, I just reviewed the video record in the last hour, and so I wrote down what I did in fact say, okay, and it says, I didn't say it was okay, well, like it said in the Gazette, that I said it was okay if a private citizen comes in and vents to a public employee. I said, when a private citizen is talking, venting, going off, okay, that private citizen is representing themselves. But when the town clerk is like rude and beyond, that's an injury to our town, and then I digress there, that's not a bad word for me, and then because that person is in the town hall, on the clock, public time. I didn't say that. That person is, because that person is representing our town as a public employee. A person, I think of Julie as representing, because she's, I think of you as representing Hot Springs, and I think you're very decorative, and I think you're very hardworking and present and busy and all that stuff. And I was just thinking, I was surprised that this ever even, had to be put in front of me. what was put in front of me about whatever it was that happened. I think that anybody in public office is held to a standard of scrutiny that a private citizen isn't necessarily held to.
I agree with that.
I disagree with that.
A public servant. Well, what we're discussing here is the difference between the actual video taping of the minutes and the way it is written down and condensed. And so, you know, in some cases, I do think, you know, it was a very long meeting with a lot of communication between everybody here, and it's really hard to explain the way every single thing, and we can't write down every word of the meeting, so.
But what I
But
heard
if-
was that, I'm sorry.
But you're right, you know, maybe we could rewrite that part so it doesn't sound that same way, because there has to be some kind of spin,
Yeah, I mean, I applaud the fact that it's
Yeah.
more detail.
more detail.
But the thing is that in some ways, you're kind of expressing your opinion about something.
I don't think so.
I would say that-
It's pretty much verbatim from the tapes.
Well,
But I
because
just
there were a
saw
couple of
that,
times where
I
it
just
isn't,
reviewed
you know,
the
it
tapes
isn't.
that Stephen took. I can't call on anybody. And anyway, so that it wasn't verbatim at all, and Brian at the Gazette, who published the draft minutes, said that Julie did tell him that she got the information from the video record, and so,
I watched the video numerous
It
times.
sounds like Mary is just wanting a mediator and not stating the
Okay.
facts.
Any other changes to it besides,
you know, there's a lot of things in there. I would call this a pretty good middle draft, you know, where, I mean, you get it all out there from watching the thing.
And
I've worked as a
why I'm
writer.
saying this,
I have
Bob,
worked
is,
as a
I
writer.
mean, we can go over and over and over the same thing,
Uh-huh.
and we're not accomplishing anything.
I see,
That's the way I see it.
okay.
I mean,
Well, that's okay.
I can't,
That's your opinion.
I certainly can't do a better job of writing the minutes, you know.
So, I mean, I think it's valuable for us to have this discussion, don't you?
Oh, I don't have any problem with that.
Okay.
I just, you know, think.
I mean, how do we express it if it's not expressed?
That's the point of this being here and discussing it.
That's
And so,
fine, yeah,
you know, if
yeah.
there's something that we really think that should be changed in the minutes, we're able to make corrections. And we can approve them at the next meeting if we have to.
Yeah.
Do you really feel that it's out
Well, I
of
think-
line enough to do that?
I thought some of them were, I think they went a little too far in the direction that they should be much more concise. I mean, too much detail in some cases, in other cases, as I say, I felt that it was kind of spinning it a certain way. That's, you know, things like, then digressed, then aggressively, went back to the issue. You know, it's more like a blow-by-blow thing, and that's not really necessary in minutes, is it?
Maybe a dictation form would be better.
Well, yeah, I mean, as I say, it could be, you know, to say during the conversation, you know, just summarize what was there. And if you have this for the backup, that's fine. Sorry, I used to teach writing too.
Well, and the summary, I think, is what we're going for.
The summary, but some
Yes.
detail, enough detail so
Enough
people get a flavor.
details so we understand it. And believe me, I don't remember every word verbatim from that last meeting, and I did not review the video. So, I mean, it's just from our own recollection.
Yeah, yeah,
If we agree or disagree with the,
yeah.
I see your
Understood the
hand,
minutes.
Janelle, but let's let the council
yeah.
discuss it.
there was another one that was, there was spin on this one, it said,
Where are you reading
she
from?
referring to me, I think it's again, it's page 4, second paragraph from the bottom paragraph. It says, she meaning me, showed pictures of houses and trailers she had targeted for complaint. You know, I didn't take those pictures, and those were the only zoning things that were up for discussion at that time. Had I had other options, I might have, you know, been, it might have been construed that I was targeting, but these were the only two that people were bringing to me. I had pressure on me, and my comment was that the comments range from everything from then why do we have zoning at all, to somebody was so upset that they were saying that they would consider, that they would take it to court. I don't think that that's happening, but that I represented that was a range. I represented that I was passing this information along because that's my job.
So do you think the objection is the word targeted?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, perhaps we could change that. Word
Brought up or
targeted.
something, something.
change
We're
brought.
not so
Or
charged.
complaint, or
Thank you,
brought to
Leslie.
show.
Can we come to something tonight on this, or
Yeah, I think
or we're just gonna
we-
beat a dead horse on this?
Should we go back to
There's a
the,
lot, I mean, I have a lot of them that I think that, just cleaning it up, just, so it's not
I
as.
think that's just really general and we want to go on with the show.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
so let's just go through and quickly change whatever we think is not correct.
Well, some of them I've already given. I'd be more than willing to, take these notes and hand them off to Julie, but basically, she then digressed. I mean, is it necessary to say that? I mean,
No.
she said such and such, I mean, that's an opinion when you say it like that.
The
And-
word
and-
digressed?
Yeah,
Okay,
and, finally, Woods got to explain the history of the dead.
well, we could take that out.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we at with the digressed
Yeah.
again? Is it page 4?
It's on page 3.
3, okay. Digressed, okay, she then digressed referring that it was acceptable for a citizen to come into City Hall and vent aggressively to the staff.
I think Mary already mentioned that too, but
Yeah.
then another, Janelle Clark spoke up chastising the mayor. I mean, you don't
But
have to
that
say that,
was
you know,
true.
she spoke up and she said something.
It wasn't
You don't have to
chastising
call
the
it
mayor.
chastising.
Well, let's go back to the
That's
word
an
digress
opinion.
so we can change it. She then spoke referring that it was that it was acceptable for a citizen, or what would be a better word? Take out the digress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is gonna take
Well,
too
let's
long.
just, I don't think that we have to go over every line of it.
No,
I
no,
can write this down as I got it off the video and hand it to you.
Yeah, but
Leslie.
I
Let's do
don't
that.
want to say, and I certainly have no opinion by myself, but we cannot possibly write down every word verbatim.
but
to
actually,
the
that's what I'm saying too.
Yes,
You
know,
put like
exactly.
dot, 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 dot.
Right.
And then quotation marks again or something like that.
So we could cross out digressed and then she then said, or something like that.
Yeah, I
Yes.
say, just take some of the things that are characterizing,
Seemed to
that's
be,
all.
okay, she then spoke, referring,
I got it,
okay,
stated.
stated is good. Okay,
There you go.
okay. And then your other objection was the finally comment.
I got that.
Actually, as
Well-
Bob has quite a few, but I mean,
Yeah.
he can
Yeah.
hand that to Julie.
Yeah, I
Just-
mean,
So-
it's
so-
like,
so
there,
I
sometimes
guess-
it's.
I guess what I would suggest is we could accept them with the corrections as per,
Right.
I mean, because you have, I mean, he has quite a few, but,
Yeah.
we get the gist of it, is just taking out some of the characterization
Okay.
and some of
Yeah.
that.
I'd like
is where-
to-
is where that-
Amend the motion that we accept the minutes with corrections.
I'll second that.
Okay, any other council discussion? Okay. We're gonna do tonight, last meeting, with the video, and you used to watch it, was a little hard on the voting, so let's do roll call vote. It's just easier for Julie. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right.
Okay. All aye?
Okay.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Financial report, council, you have, that's a little bit new in front of you. I believe there was a mistake in the previous one that came in your
The
packet.
financial report
This is
on
the
the table, it's a pretty colored
But the
one.
one you got in your packet,
I
there
don't
was a
think I got
mistake.
one, but-
Oh, there was a mistake in it, so this is the
Okay.
corrected one.
Okay.
The one on the table is the correct one.
Okay, I'll make a
What was
motion.
the
Yeah,
It was a transfer between the debit card and the regular checking account, or the money market account. It was just a funds transferred and the numbers were incorrect. The actual, everything stayed the same, it just went from one line to another line.
okay. I'll make the motion, we accept the financials.
And I'll accept, or second it.
Okay,
Motion made and seconded, this is financials. I'll give council just a minute to look it over.
do you wanna show us what line, where the change is
Sure.
here?
Oh, here it is.
Okay. The first purple line is it's actually, that is correct. When you go down to, the line that is 5210, 10 1000 and 10 1005, which is about midway down the top half. There was a difference of $250 from one line to the next line. So instead of 5210, 10 1005, having an ending balance of 50911, it had an ending balance of 25911. And the difference of that is in the line above it, the 5210, 10 1000. The correct amount is 77,361, not 77,5061. Okay, it was the $250 there that just went from one line to the other. And then the same thing happened in the 5310, 100 and 5310, 10 1005. There was a $150 change there between those two lines. This is the correct one. You have one on the table, you probably have put your packet on top of it.
And the bottom line, bank balance is the same. The bottom line is the same.
Yeah, nothing, they were just,
Miss Julie, when is this sheet usually ready in a day?
I can't do it until the bank finishes up.
Okay.
I finished that one, I don't know, probably a week or so, but I actually caught the error in it today.
Okay.
When I was finishing lining up the February stuff, I caught that error.
Well, this is all new to me, and it just would help me to have more time to really go over it. That's what I'm thinking.
One of the problems like today is, there's no banking information today because it's the first, so.
Right,
That's the problem.
yeah.
Yeah, actually, today's is almost ready. It's a 21-cent discrepancy I'm looking for.
Okay, any other council discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4 ayes. Presentation of claims.
I move to accept the presentation form.
Motion been made and seconded to accept the claims. Open for council discussion.
There's a new explanation of claims on the table because there was some added after the packet went out.
Okay, Michael Perry, he's the reserve police.
They don't do those weekends.
Okay, what is his salary or?
They got paid for the shifts. They get, I think it's $70 a shift. Unless they got paid $140, which I believe
Well,
is
that
for
would
2
be,
shifts.
so 2 shifts, okay.
The Morrison Merrily, is that the final payment for the current water project?
I'm
The
not sure
seven-
that that is final. I think there will be some more. That is
Okay.
water.
But it has
That
to do
is
with-
water project,
It
yes.
is water project, but
Okay,
I
but
think we're
not
gonna,
concerning the new PER?
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
the stuff on here, the Morrison Merrily and the Montana Department of Revenue are both closing up the water project.
Thank you.
They're going through the paperwork and making sure all the inventories and making sure everything is correct, so there's gonna be some, make sure the final numbers are correct.
The reserve fellow, Ray Mariscal Jr., was during here.
Bandito.
Bandito,
Yes,
yeah, so it was just an exception.
yeah.
Mhm.
Was there any difference at all in the cost of law enforcement during the Bandito weekend? Or did the county just loan us some people and then the reserve volunteer officer Perry?
What they do is, and this is something we've done for years, this isn't new this year, this is what we've done for quite a few years. The town brings on a couple of their reserve deputies, and they were both paid. They're paid $70 a shift, and they both work 2 shifts. That's on page 2 of the claims. Michael Perry was one of the reserve officers, and Ray Marscale came down. The county had people here also for that weekend. And the highway patrol in the county, I think we're doing more of a step patrol. That's a state grant, and they do them in, they're kind of like target areas, and they come and they do contacts. The step grant is used for traffic. They go to an area and they work it really heavy, they oversaturate it for a period of time. I believe that's what the state and the county were doing here over that weekend. I don't know, that's them, they did out on the highway. I just heard that from one of the people.
Oh, so that was just happened to be going on, that
Right.
wasn't a coordinated effort?
No, it was, I'm sure they did it out here on that weekend because of the extra traffic in Hot Springs. But the STEP grant is something that they do, and it's a targeting thing. I know they do it like at the Sanders County Fair, they do the STEP grant program there. I know they do it at the Huckleberry Festival. They bring in extra people and they work the traffic. It's on the state, it's through the DUI funding, I believe, through the state, it's a grant thing. The town of Hot Springs doesn't get it, so I'm just going off of what I know about it from seeing the paperwork. We don't apply for that grant money. Any other questions on the claims? No other council discussion on the claims? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right,
4 ayes, thank you.
Okay.
Reports, this last month, of course, we're still finishing up the water project and all that, working on the grants. Last night was the first CDBG meeting. Morrison Merrily, our engineering firm, put on. There'll be a series of 2 of those. The CDBG requires the meetings for public input on multiple levels. One of the things last night, and I just want to clarify, I know some of the people that are here tonight are there. One of the things I don't think Morrison Merrily kind of got in their little picture there is that CDBG requires us to umbrella it. They require, what they're looking for is they want to get their name out there and what they fund. And this is one of the ways of doing it. Before you can apply for their grant, you have to have the public meetings, but you have to throw out everything they do. Or so when they talk about housing or they talk about the other items that they do, that's all stuff for CDBG for you to be looking at community-wide. What does the community want in other aspects? And then they kind of tailored it back to what CDBG is doing for the town right now. We're in infrastructure and we're doing the sewer and all that, which there will be another meeting in a couple of weeks. That's already scheduled.
March 21st.
March 21st at the Senior Citizen Center, 6 o'clock. Comments, anything like that. I know I got a preliminary thing today, and I just, right at the end of the day, they sent it to me, so I didn't have a chance to look at it, but they had went through it with the comments, and we're working on some answers on that from last night's meeting. So it was a good turnout, and I'm glad everyone come, and there'll be another meeting looking at that. Also, last month, I had a meeting with Tribal Lands, and also Tribal Legal. I had a meeting with them over the tribal complex. One of the things we're looking at is, last month there was quite a bit of discussion on tribal lands and water usage and water payments and that. What we're looking into, me and Lands and with their legal counsels, we're looking into doing a little better agreement with the people. We're not talking discriminatory to anybody, it's anyone that, we're gonna have more of a little different contract when you come in and sign up for water. What was interesting is, as I called around, Julie called around, I talked to Charlo, Polson, Ronan, St. Ignatius, R. Lee. They all do water the exact same way we do. Not really any contract, not really nothing, you're not giving the rules in the contract, you're not giving the people what the expectations are, and some of those things. And because it's spelled out in Montana state law, that's what you get from everybody. Oh, it's in the ordinances, or it's in MCA says it. Well, sometimes maybe we need to be a little more upfront with the people. So that was one of the things I talked to Lands and Legal Services about at the tribe, and what we're trying to do is put together more of a little more better contract and a little better agreement for the customers and the town in these things. So it was a good productive meeting, and we're gonna move forward. We'll probably have another meeting here in the next week or so, and we're gonna be moving forward on this. So we're gonna be kind of doing something that no one else on the reservation is right now, and it's kind of interesting. So we're working towards making everything better and making it better for everybody, and less stress, less hassle, and what's expected. This last week, last month actually, Public Works has been working on some drainage ditches, fixing some mud holes, getting some of that stuff going. I know they were cutting some ditches and stuff over on 2nd Avenue and up on the hill to kind of get some of that water drained away, putting in some culverts in some people's driveways and stuff like that to kind of get that mud out of their driveways, try and help them out. So they're going to continue working on that. They've been, one of the things we're working towards, and the town has the money, we've saved up the money, is we need to replace some of our water meters. We've pretty much replaced all the household ones, but our big water pit meter need to be replaced, and there's 6 of them. They're a little bit expensive, but it'd be better for everybody if we get those replaced. They're not working adequately right now, so they're working on that. That'll be here a bit, going here this next couple weeks. Today, them and the telephone company, they did joint training. They did CPR and first aid today with the telephone company. So the Public Works employees have been doing that. Fire department, we have 5 fires, a chicken coop and a dryer fire, 2 CO2 carbon monoxide detectors. One of the problems with those, well, actually one was there was 3 carbon monoxide detectors. 2 of them were just old. They wear out after about 3 years. You need to replace them. They'll just start alarming on their own in the middle of the night. Usually, I don't know why, they always go off at 3 in the morning, but that's what seems to be.
Private residence?
Private residences,
Private residence.
yeah, and then they just get age on them. Carbon monoxide just gets age. But one of them was, a lady was misusing a propane stove, and she had kind of gassed herself, but it went off luckily quick enough that she wasn't hurt or nothing, but it was one of those that's, luckily that house had that, because she was, and we went and assisted the ambulance on one car crash. The ambulance had 23 calls last month, so they were about normal. One of the other things, just for discussion right now, or to throw out there, so it's in the back of your mind, is, I don't know if everyone knows or how the fire department works. It's a joint department. It's Hot Springs, the town of Hot Springs, by state statute, has to have a fire department. And then the rural district, which is the Hot Springs High School district, so it's a very large district, has a fire department too. Ever since that department was created in 1976, we've been one department. Two separate fundings. The town pays for their truck and their equipment they use in town. The rural pays for their, I think they have right now 10 pieces of apparatus, fire hall, and they kind of get, they have way more money than the town, so they help kind of fund everything, the rural district does. Neither one of us have enough people to have our own separate fire departments. I mean, just not enough population, not enough people, and not enough funds, so it works best for us to work together. But what I was approached with, the rural has a board of directors, which is elected by their people. I was approached by them at their last meeting, is they'd like to build a new fire hall. They would like to build it in the proximity of the town of Hot Springs and invite us to join them in living in it. Right now, the way it sounds is they would like to, they're gonna pay for the whole building if we would let them put it on our property out, we call the gravel pit, but it's out there by the mini storage. It's where we have our gravel and our equipment and everything. It's a couple acres out there, there's plenty of room, but they're in the beginning stages of putting this building project together, so they just want to bring that to the council and to the people, and so you know that by looking at it is, they will pay for the whole building project if we will donate the property to them. So it's kind of a, we'll see how that comes, and we're not asking for nothing now, it's just to keep you guys informed and see what goes on. But so far, that's what they were looking at their meeting, is going that way with it. So, and if anyone wants to tour the fire hall back here, we're pretty cramped right now. The truck almost against the back door, and the truck in front of it is against the front door. You can't even walk around, and they're packed in there so tight. And actually, we have a couple trucks this time of year aren't even in service because they have to sit outside. We don't even have room for them. So in the summertime, we can use them. But so the new building would be able to have all the equipment in it and plenty of room and all that. So that's where we're headed, and that's down the road a ways. But just so people hear rumors on the street, that's where we're headed. Or the rural fire district is headed anyways. And they've asked the town to come along with them, but we'll talk about that at a later date.
So eventually would that space be liberated then, so that you could remodel it and use it for?
Oh, yeah, yeah. And that's one of the other things that, and I guess I can elaborate more on that, is the building still belongs to the town, so we could put a bigger meeting room behind that door. Some of the other things that we have to keep, a lot of paperwork. We have, from the day the town was brought into incorporation, we have paperwork from them. We have the minutes to the meetings. We have all kinds of paperwork. And then as we get into these grants and everything that we're doing, we have to keep that paperwork for a long period of time. Some of that paperwork we have to keep till the loan is paid. Well, some of those loans are 30 and 40 years, so we have boxes and boxes. And actually, if you want to go back there and look, there's probably enough boxes right now to fill this room of documentation. But here's the thing with documentation. When you start keeping it for years, you have to keep it climate controlled. We talked about some other buildings, like building a storage building, and talked about some of that stuff. Luckily, about that same time, the state of Montana or someone warned us not to do that, because the temperature changes in those buildings will make your ink disappear. It will actually ruin the documentation over years. It'll actually age it in the boxes. So that's one of the things they said. You have to store these documents. You have to keep them, but you have to keep them somewhat climate controlled. You can't have the huge temperature swings. You can't have the humidities. You can't have all that. So that's another thing with the fire department kind of moving out. That's going to give us the room to put something in the back room here for a meeting room, but also for storing that documentation a little better than stored now. So that's what we're.
I was just gonna say, a lot of places are digitizing everything now too, and that, so that it's available and quickly.
But what happens if we have a magnetic impulse and it'll let erase it?
That's true, I mean, you still have to keep it, you can do it, offsite or something like
Right,
that.
I mean, those are just some of those things that we need to be looking into that too. I mean, so it all kind of goes hand in hand all the way through.
You cannot do that because eventually the technology to read that will be obsolete. cannot do that. The only thing you can rely on is that people will always know how to read, and you can't even guarantee that anymore.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so, police report, total case reports generated for the month were 26. There were 7 traffic stops, obstructing a police officer, 2 thefts, 2 assaults, 1 resisting arrest, 1 criminal mischief, 1 welfare check, 3 information only, 1 livestock call, 6 miscellaneous, and they helped the ambulance on 1 call. There were 3 total arrests, 2 assault, and 1 on a tribal warrant. The banditos went very well, only 1 arrest during the event, and that was not a bandito. Thank you to the bars for doing such a fine job of monitoring the glass and the trash and everything on the street. And I went uptown and had dinner that night and before the band started. I'm too old for the loud music anymore, but it was very nice. The people were out on the street, they had their fire pits, they were in front of both, in front of the Montana and in front of Fergie's. They were able to mingle back and forth, and while I was sitting there, I was sitting by a table of a bunch of the older banditos, I'm guessing in their late 60s, maybe early 70s. But that was one of the things, they were really appreciative of. It's one of those things that's losing its thing. That's why they like coming here, is they can take their drink and walk down to the other place for a while and walk back and forth or stand out on the street and visit instead of being in the packed bar. I mean, there was lots of them and lots of other people and all kinds of things going on in that movement. I'd like to thank the bars also, both of them. One of the things they're right there at the end, they found an insurance glitch, that there was some things maybe not covered properly the last few years, but they took the diligence to step forward and find that stuff and make the insurance work and put it all together and make it a nice event. It worked out well. Worked out well for the town. The town had no complaints with, on the law enforcement side, or for what I saw, I was uptown a few times, and it looked like everyone was having fun, and it looked like it was working really well. So it was a good deal. And thank everyone, and thank the bars again for helping out with that and making it a nice event and helping with the insurance and everything. It was great. So, any council discussion? Bob?
Yeah, that meeting is coming up in 2 weeks. Do you have an exact date for that? This last time it kind of snuck up on me.
21st.
21st.
I believe it's a Monday.
6. They have it a little earlier.
Mondays.
At 6 p.m., okay. One of the other things I'm thinking is, I'd be more than willing to do some of the work in putting together a graphic that shows all the projects that are going on with water and sewer, because I'm hearing about these projects, and other people say, well, where is everything, you know? I mean, with a simple graphic, I'd be, I'd say willing to do that.
That's what I want to get together.
Okay.
I can show you where things are going, because it actually is right now, we keep talking different projects, and we're finishing up the water stage 2. We're starting sewer, and we're looking at the PER for water stage 3, the final water project. So I mean, we're talking about all those at one time, so
Right.
it is.
It's a little confusing there.
Yeah.
And I had someone ask me also, they said, when did the town council vote to approve obtaining the new water PER for updating the 2012 water PER?
October, no, we have, I'd have to
To
look
go
back.
back in the minutes.
It was this fall.
Last fall?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Clerk,
No,
library?
it's on the
Got the
table.
library report, Linda
It's
did
in
it
writing.
tonight.
It's on the table.
She's gonna read it to us.
Oh, thank you.
Yep,
Thank
got
you,
it right here.
Liz.
Services to the public, we're printing tax forms upon request, but not the instruction books unless the patrons wish to pay for the printed pages because they're so long. We're continuing to help people register their tablets and iPads and introduce them to wireless access. Ed and Kim Persico have donated another 39 titles to our First Peoples, Montana, and Nonfiction section. These books are cataloged and available for checkout. We have also received a large donation of DVDs and VHS that are now on the shelves and ready for checkout. The library's large touchscreen computer spent a large part of last month down. After many hours on the phone with Hewlett-Packard, the touchscreen is back up and operating properly. We have a very limited man hours for the technology maintenance and repair. Linda's Breakfast fundraiser raised $365 for the library. Linda donated the food. The Salish Kootenai tribe donated the use of the Tribal Nutrition Center. We'd like to put a big thanks out to them and to Linda, the cook, and to all of the supporters for Toondracht on February 21st for a great meal. I also have an incident report that came from our last board meeting that I'd like to read. This was submitted to us by Starla Rice, dated February 2nd. I was at my desk wrapping books at about 6 p.m. when someone rapped on the office window. I went to see who it was and was met by a minor girl. I'm not going to give her name because she's a minor, asking to please come in. She said there was a man out there that was really creeping her out. I looked and there was a man standing behind my car about midway between it and the chain link fence on the bus yard. I couldn't see him very well. The girl said he was chasing another man. The man being chased had asked her to call the police as she was texting on her cell phone. She told him she could only text on her phone and send him on to the school. She knocked on the window because the man doing the chasing kept yelling at the other man, "What's in the green bag? And I'm going to kill you." And it really spooked the little girl. I dialed 911 and identified myself as Starla Rice at the Hot Springs Library and that we had some kind of altercation going on in the parking lot and towards the school. I then told the 911 dispatcher I would turn the phone over to the 15-year-old girl that had witnessed what happened. She was asked for a description of the two men. She gave her name and they hung up. I told the girl she needed to get a ride instead of walking home alone. She texted her aunt and her uncle came and picked her up. I got in my car at 6:08 and sat there until 6:20, thinking that dispatch would probably send an officer out to the call and somebody should be here. By 6:20, I figured an officer wasn't coming, so I swung by City Hall, but the police cruiser wasn't there. I made a couple more passes, then went home. The young girl said she didn't recognize the man that was chasing and threatening the other guy. And the library board would like to get a written response on this, on why no officer showed up either at the time of the incident or followed up with it the next day. And I have a copy of it for you, Randy.
I can answer that because that man, I know the man personally that was being chased. And he went to another residence and made another call, and the officer met him there.
Why didn't anybody do anything or contact the library?
Well, because I think they were worried about the man being assaulted more than, because that wasn't going on at the library. But I'll talk to Chad about that some more, maybe make some contact, but I know the incident. The man went to the school, he went through the school parking lot because no one was there, he went to another residence, they dialed 911. Actually, Officer Schwate responded to the assault call. We're more worried about the man being assaulted than going back to someplace. I mean, the assault left there, it went somewhere else, so.
Okay, can we have a written report so we can present that at our board meeting next Wednesday night? Thank you.
Just to finish up your report, the library signed up new 8 patrons last month. 461 walk-ins, 227 computer users, and 37 wireless users that came in. They have a lot of wireless users that just stand outside or come different times of the evening, or the wireless outside gets used quite a bit. I see that quite a bit out there, the wireless being used. And thank you, Liz, for coming and giving the report. Planning board?
We met last month, and on the 23rd, we met again to go over the ordinances. And they'll be posted on the wall, the window here in City Hall of what we're going to go over. And we're going to meet every 2 weeks, and we're gonna go over just certain sections of the ordinances, and you'll see it on the wall, and the next meeting will be March 8th at 7 PM here. So, any public input, it's usually a pretty small forum, so we usually, let people comment during it, but if we get a group like this, there's no way we could hear all of it during the course of the meeting, so. But any concerns of any ordinances, just look on the window. Oh, yep, I'm interested in what's going on there. I want to go and speak my piece. You're welcome. And I usually bring cookies. They have to be Big Newtons because I'm on a diet. So, sorry.
What time's the meeting, Deanna?
7
PM.
7 PM.
Okay. Zoning compliance officer?
Nothing new going on. Some excavation work being done over on Second. They are doing a 20-foot wide foundation. That's the quote mobile home.
At the last meeting, you were saying everything was kind of in suspension there, that nothing had been decided?
I'm in contact with them and I said, we're 20-foot foundation, 20-foot wide.
Oh, okay.
Meets the setbacks.
Okay.
Keep
Had
an eye
somebody
on.
run me down today and rattle my cage about that.
I got a couple comments too, and could I just ask a question? Do you think he's still planning on building those add-ons? Okay, because where would you consider his front door to be facing to that?
I'd have
West
to look
or
at the
east?
drawing I have back in here. If you want to come in and take a look at it.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah. What it looked like to me is that, that the excavation might be 20 feet wide. This is just an observation. This is not even a complaint. I'm just going, this is funny. It seems funny because I did see that picture where there was like two, separate like porches, but they were more, not so much like porches, but actual little add-ons, but bumped out kind of. And so it looks to me like what you said was that even though he's really close to the, to one far end, the east end of the property, which is a wide lot, he meets the setbacks, but if his front door is facing that way, I think he would be building into the setbacks if he added those on, is all I'm saying. I'm just saying. Well, because you showed me the picture, and it looked like on the side that his front door is going to be, which I'm thinking might be these. I was just watching it. Lots of dirt, beautiful dirt came out of that hole. Way more dirt came out of that hole than you could imagine was in that hole to begin with.
Okay, anything else for zoning compliance? Parks and Recreation, we haven't appointed the board yet, we're still have, it's still open for anyone who'd like to be on the Parks and Recreation board. Please put in a letter of interest and we'll be doing that
We'll be appointing in April.
at the next meeting, at the April meeting, we'll be appointing the new Parks and Recreation board. So we're still looking for letters of interest, people that wanna be on
I
it.
thought you already might have done that, okay.
No, we have not done the Parks and Recreation board, no. We do have a couple letters so far, so if anyone else would like to, come and help try and plan what we do in the parks, and we actually have a couple different parks. We have a park that everyone sees, but we also have a park down at the old, the end of D Street. There's actually a city park down there too. At one time, there was a group that were gonna put in some walking trails, and so it's down where the creek and the irrigation canals all kind of come together. A lot of wildlife and birds and it's down, D Street at the old, actually, sorry, not D Street, E Street. Down past where Manfred Temple was, where Ann Mecklen's house was, it's below that, but, so. We'll be doing that next meeting. Chamber of Commerce Artist Society,
The Chamber of Commerce is going to meet on Thursday at the Creekside at noon. Tomorrow night, I'm gonna be in Plains at the Plains High School to meet with the concession group. That meets at 7 o'clock. And I haven't been to any of the previous meetings because their board has been really helter-skelter there, and I haven't really received any of the meeting notifications, but I did receive this one. So I am going down, and I am gonna report to the Chamber of Commerce about what the concessionaires are going to do. And then, also tomorrow night is the, Artist Society meeting. It's at Wall Street Place in the main lobby, and we're working on a photographic show that will be in April. And we also have the April-May bi-monthly newsletter in the works right now. And, well, gosh, we had the Missoula Children's Theater performances. The Artist Society went down and did the Ice Cream Social, doing their 2 performances at 2 and 6:30. And thank you to Trudy Berge and Amy Anderson for holding down the fort. Amy did receive a grant towards the next Missoula Children's Theater performance. And I think we made about $86 on our Ice Cream Social, so.
1,800.
No, $86 for the ice cream social. 1,800 would be good though.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and, I can't think of anything else right now.
What time is the meeting tomorrow night?
It's at 7 PM.
At Wall Street too?
Yeah, and the chamber meeting is Thursday, the next day at Creekside at noon. So,
Museum have anything?
I haven't heard anything. Nora Potts is putting out flyers about the Spud Fest in April, but I can report on that at the next meeting too.
When, do you have a date for the Spud Fest?
I cannot remember it. It might be the
Okay.
21st. Because it's pretty close to the birth date.
Okay. Next is the growth policy review on land use.
Hang on, at your request, the chapter was in your packet.
You not gonna talk about it?
Oh,
No one else in the room knows anything but us, so,
Well, okay, well-
so unless we all sit here and stare at each other for a while.
The idea is that this is the time for a public comment on the growth policy, just to keep the discussion alive. And so the land use section, actually I think we discussed it a little bit last week, but here's the actual goals and objectives. The idea for public comment is to maybe just share some anecdotes about what's been going on in terms of progress or changes that are going on in land use. For example, during the review that was conducted in 2014, they talked about how there was an underground storage tank cleaned up at Spring Street Auto Care. The Central Business District was expanded to include Wall Street. Camas Market constructed an addition. And then, even though it doesn't happen inside the town of Hot Springs, we mentioned that a Buddhist community retreat center bought some property outside of Hot Springs. The idea being that this is how land is being used in the greater community, which will, potentially have an impact on the town. So, any other comments?
How many pages is the part that you're referring to, the land use part?
Just 3.
2, actually, the one,
So,
the page 3 is just notes.
So my understanding from this is public comment / growth policy review, that this is a place where public can comment.
Uh-huh.
So what I'd like to request in future meetings is to have copies, so that even while we're talking, then we're knowing what you're looking at.
Well, and I was just thinking that, Janelle, is you guys have been sitting there with nothing to do for, 30 minutes or so, as you could actually be reading this 2 pages.
It's true.
And then you could be ready to comment when this come up.
Right.
Or even if on the website, something like what
Well,
Bob was saying,
the whole thing-
next month, we're gonna be talking
Right.
about
So the
And like
whole
we
growth
know now.
policy is on the website, I think, right?
I know that, but
So you could print out the pages, and there's the way that it's formatted is that there's like a notes page. So,
I know, but I
But they
mean-
need to know what we're looking at.
But I mean, I just saw this today, so
Right.
this is the first time that anybody knew, or most people knew, land use. So if we knew, like, next month, we're gonna be talking about or
well, this was
reviewing.
this wasn't, the agenda was posted,
Yeah, we'll make it better. No
Just
problem.
so it's easier, so it's, you know.
yeah, so,
No problem.
so I think next month we'll just do the next one. So that was
I
section.
do have a comment on
Okay.
on this one, is for land use, is the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes is looking into revamping the bathhouse. That's on, they're working on that right now. There's some plans in the future
It's
here.
like a feasibility study or something
They're,
like that too.
well, and they're looking at some design, and they're looking at some stuff, so that's something that hopefully is gonna come. They're, right now, they don't know which direction they're gonna go too much, but that is something that's coming, and then they're working on that.
Okay, awesome.
So,
That's something for us to be,
so I guess then
Looking
next
forward
month
to it.
it'll be section 4.
Which is, we don't know.
so remember that, Janelle, section 4.
I would like to make a comment on that house on Second Avenue South, in that we have
This is
zoning.
This is just for the growth policy public comment. Were you talking about the growth policy?
Is this zoning, et cetera, part of our growth policy?
I guess, yeah, okay.
Land use.
Okay,
Okay.
I didn't know if it was a general public comment or not.
It is a general comment, even though it pertains to the one, is that we have a growth policy. It appears that we have a property on Second Avenue South who is not adhering to that zoning policy, and it seems to be okay. And I don't understand. It is, we either have a growth policy or a zoning, we change it, or we get rid of it. But we need to adhere to what we have.
I agree.
Here, here. I just want to say that in the previous meeting, they put the new members of the planning board in place, and then at the next meeting, they're going to be discussing exactly what you're talking about.
I listened to their meetings on the thanks to Stephen, but it's, I have been trying to keep up on it. But anyway, we need to not just push it under the rug. You're either in compliance or you're not. If you are not, what do we do to do it so that it is fair to all and not just slip
But I
this
think
one?
if he does a 20-foot wide foundation, if he does a 20-foot wide building, it is in compliance then. With his
Well,
Class A
it's,
residential.
anyway, it's a
If he actually does a
concern of mine.
foundation and does all that, I mean, it's kind of one of those things that is odd. It's not,
Can I make a comment?
go ahead, Dean.
On that, Karen, I know in our discussions as planning board, that is, we wanna have something that we can have teeth to go after the people that are violating the zoning or ordinances because of the same situation, and we've all been in there and we're going over it, and we do wanna put some language in there and put in some language that is gonna go after them if they're, if they're not in compliance and, so
I mean,
that way you know.
Yes, you either abide by what you have, you change it,
Right,
or you get rid of it.
right, and we're aware of that, I know, we're trying to do something about it in the planning
Thank
board to
you.
give to the council.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr.
So, you're
Nicolai?
welcome.
Speaking of growth policy, this concerns the Indian Center, that the complexes are being torn down there, the duplexes. Anyway, the tribes, for me, being an elder, they're giving me 2.5 acres between housing and forestry. And there's already a trailer court set up there. And I'm wondering if they're gonna buy me a trailer to set up in there. So is that gonna have to be a 20-foot wide deal?
No,
Okay.
no, you're.
And and one more thing, is that...
Demas got one.
Pardon?
Demas got one.
You're gonna get a nice one like his.
I wanted to ask you too, now, the water and sewer from that, is that hooked up with the city? Or is that...
It will, you have, I mean, we will hook you up, URLs will be hooked up, yeah.
But there's already a hookup there to water and sewer.
Yeah,
So that is hooked up to the city.
yep.
Oh, I thought the tribe had their own
So,
water.
where- So you're gonna go up by Linda's?
No, just above housing and just below, a forestry building.
Oh, okay,
I
yeah,
like the call between the
there's stuff there for that, yes. There's trailer hookups in there,
Yeah.
and they're still hooked up to the city, yes.
Oh, okay, that's.
Yep, yep, as far as I know, unless when Lands pulled that stuff out, they may have done some, but as far as I know, it's all still there, ready to be hooked up, and you could pull a house on it tomorrow and be in business. As far as I know. One more thing, when Jerry spoke of it, no, I'm not, like I said, I haven't heard it officially, maybe you have, the tribal health doing some more stuff over here. Were you at
Yes.
that council meeting?
They're contemplating that, yeah.
Okay, then we won't talk about it till they do it.
I was gonna ask you, so if I put it in a house like Demus's, please throw me out.
I'll come over there and throw you out, Jerry. Believe me.
Okay? Is there any communications or public comment on agenda items? If not, we'll move into the agenda items.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, were you raising your hand?
No, I
Oh,
don't raise my
okay, I
hand.
thought you were, don't raise your hand, okay. Well, it takes me a little while to sometimes absorb things and put things together, but I just wanted to make a comment about, public comment regarding the zoning and planning at the council meeting, because, I did go to the last planning board meeting, and I'm not really sure if I got exactly what Karen was told about making comment here that there's things going on in the planning board meeting, but I'm pretty sure that pretty close to the beginning of the planning board meeting, Catherine, you were kind of saying that, gosh, I hope I represent, what did you say? You said that to take public comment at a planning board meeting, to integrate that time-wise, would maybe, make it kind of, you didn't use this word, but this is how I understood it, so please correct me, kind of cumbersome. And that you were talking about projecting how long it would take, or maybe Paul was saying, projecting how long, Paul's not here. Okay, how long it would take to like address all the public comment that was coming up at a planning board meeting, but I'm sure about this, that this was said, was that city council meetings are public meetings, and that this is, that almost that you're gonna refer people to go to the city council meeting to comment on zoning and planning issues. And so, is that correct? Am I correct in the way I perceive that, or am I not? All I'm saying is when Karen did make a public comment commenting about zoning here, I think it almost sounded like she was being referred to the planning board, and then at the planning board last meeting, I thought I heard that people were being referred to the city council.
Well, I think
Do you
what it
understand?
was.
Maybe Deanna can answer this.
First of all, when Karen spoke up and started talking about zoning,
I know we were on a
I
different.
thought maybe she was giving
Right.
regular public comment instead of growth policy public comment. So then she clarified, and then that was fine.
Okay.
So,
Right, but in terms of my question is, did I get that right? Deanna?
about,
Well, I think what it is that we did talk about that the public input would be at the planning board also with us, but then when we sent the sections to the council of the ordinances that we reviewed, and we sent it up for you guys to look at, then the public would be able to comment on the revisions that were made at the planning board level. Is that what I
specific to
understood?
zoning ordinance.
Yeah, zoning and ordinances, yes, not the growth
And then
policy.
I guess that would be the best place, I guess that's my feeling of what the planning board's for the public to come, put comments, while it's still in that working document stage. Then they're gonna bring it to the council for more of an action. The council then is gonna take and make it the rule. You know, so it's best to have all the public comment and all the public as active as they possibly can back when it's being written. I mean, and
Thank you,
that way
Wendy.
then.
That's what I
that
was
way-
very confused
that way
about
when it
after
comes
that
here.
last meeting.
But also, I'd like to, when they bring that, though, it'd be nice to have that public comment come with it in kind of a writing form or whatever, so the council sees how the public feels on that too. I mean, it's,
And the planning board meets twice a month, you said?
Well, we will while we're going over the ordinances. So the next meeting will be March 8th at 7 PM here at City Hall.
The other thing that was discussed, Mary, was whether growth policy public comment should be turfed to the planning board or to city council. I remember kind of discussing this with Janelle. When the growth policy committee was meeting, all by its lonesome, nobody coming to our meetings, even though they were publicly noticed. I know. Anyway, the growth policy group, in the final report of the revised growth policy, said we recommend that comment come every month to the city council meetings. Because at the time that we were working on the growth policy, planning board wasn't really meeting. So if we had recommended, oh, the planning board needs to take this on, it would have sort of been like referring it to a non-existent committee. So the growth policy group made the recommendation that comment be brought every month to city council, because we know those meetings take place, right? Like, now planning board once,
okay.
Okay.
Councilman Adams.
I think at the last, meeting, we kind of just, we didn't have too many people there. So we were able to operate in a relatively informal manner. And so the public that was there was able to, and we encourage, of course, to be able to comment at that time. And as you're saying, work out these, go through each one and work them out, and then we'll be able to bring them to the town council.
Yeah.
I also believe you probably, after whatever input you have with the planning board, at your planning board meetings, I think you should probably also have public hearings. So invite it larger than the people that have attended the meetings.
Just like you do at everything, but it's really nice for the public to be involved in writing that stuff instead of bringing it here, already in a written format to be approved, and then people, finally getting to see it.
What time does the board meet?
7, and that's why it's on the window here of each section that we're going to discuss,
Janelle, you have a?
So this is public comment about an agenda item. I want clarification about submitting an agenda item to the council. So my understanding is, at present time, is the Tuesday before the council meeting, so 1 week before at noon, someone can, citizen or a council member can submit agenda item. And so they're brought to you, Randy, and then you decide what's on the agenda for that meeting, correct?
That's correct, and the reason we do that, a couple different reasons for that. One, that gives us time to put together the council packet, because council gets their packet way before the meeting. The other part of that is, if you're bringing something to the council, let's say you want to bring your water bill problem, that's really not a council deal, maybe we can handle that somewhere else. I get quite, and I shouldn't say I get them, I haven't gotten them in a long time. I used to get quite a few things to be put on the council agenda that we can just take care of. I mean, it was just stuff that the people didn't realize that they came and just talked to us about it, we could fix the problem long before it ever had to come. So, but for instance, Councilman Whitsitt and Councilman Neary both brought stuff, but the other side of that is when you bring something, then we can get the pros and the cons. We can get all the information put together and in their packet. So the council, when they come to this meeting, they have got all the information I can give them and then get the public comment, but then they can make that informed decision at this meeting instead of, one of the things that when I first became mayor 8 years ago, people were able to bring stuff almost minutes before the meeting and put it on the agenda. Well, then no one knew what was going on, and then they're being asked to make a decision right now, and it's, and they couldn't go back and talk to their constituents, they couldn't talk to the neighbors, they couldn't talk to, the people that was affecting, and that's kind of why we just want to do it a little ahead of time, so that we can get that out there, so the councilmen in that area have a chance to go out and talk to the people in that area. Maybe it's a neighbor's yard, or a fence, or a vehicle, or whatever it is, I mean, so we can get that information put together and be able to come to this meeting and do
So
something.
then my particular question is about the application for a retail on-premise consumption beer wine license, Nick Barber. My understanding is that, and I'm sorry to be speaking for someone, but it is bothersome to me, is that I know firsthand that this person did not submit an agenda item, and they are on the agenda. And so I want clarification of how did that happen?
Right here, the state sends us, right here, it's addressed to the town council.
I can't read what it says.
But it's, the state sends the license to us, it's in care of the town council. And the reason this one is brought before the council, a couple reasons. It is a new business. Some of the name changes, like when some of the other establishments have done name change, the establishment stays the same, it's in the same location, under the same operation. This is actually a new facility, a new bar in town. So, and it is open for public comment. It's, and the council, and this was addressed to the town council, so the town
I
council.
just didn't
needs
know,
to-
it just seemed, I happened to be sitting with Abby, and an agenda item was brought, and my understanding again was that neither party knew that they would be on the agenda, so what I'm hearing is that when it has to do with a business or the health
Well,
department or
this is a business that
something.
has to have public comment. This business is
Got it.
required by state law to have public comment.
That was why I took the agenda over there, so
Well,
they were
I'm-
aware.
I'm
Just-
I'm asking just because it seemed, I just didn't understand the
Yeah,
difference.
and also they have to
between-
publicize it, I believe, twice in the local newspaper, and probably in the Ledger, in the
Thank
legal
you.
section. It's for what it is, that's why that's there.
Thank you.
Any other comment on agenda items? If not, we'll move into agenda items. First, we have no old business. Under new business, it's motion for water project closeout and final payments. We're still closing out the,
Do you need a motion for that?
need a motion for that.
Right, okay.
Councilman Adams made the motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll read this real quick. The 2015 Hot Springs Water Project is nearing final closeout. This is a letter actually from Morrison Merrily to us. Project closeout will require acceptance of final application for payment and release of retainage by the town of Hot Springs. Retainage is money we held back to the end of the project. It's kind of like a bond that we held. The town of Hot Springs will require a signature of closing funding source documents. The project will be required to meet closeout conditions before the town can pursue CBG funding applications for the upcoming funding cycle. The application date for CBG has not yet been set. The contractor LHC Incorporated is compiling the final required closeout documents such as subcontractors, supplier waivers, and release forms. Every one of their people has to, so all their subcontractors and all their suppliers have to sign release forms saying they've been paid in full. It's, we don't want to be the pipe supplier, we don't want, maybe LHC didn't pay them, we don't know. But we want to make sure all that stuff's paid because that's one of the funding requirements. So we get a letter from all of them, and that's where we're at right now. Upon receipt of all required closeout documents from the contractor, Morrison Merrily will provide recommendations for payment and release of retainage. Morrison Merrily will also be providing funding closeout documents for review and signature. The recommended motion by them tonight this is recommended because this fulfills some things for CDBG. Motion to authorize the mayor to sign funding agency closeout documents and final applications of payment to the contractor and engineer for the 2015 Town of Hot Springs Water Improvement Project when money becomes available. Fiscal effects, the Town of Hot Springs water project is within budget. Final construction quantities have been reconciled. What they did is they went through, the engineer kept track of everything that was used on the project and cross-checked out with what we were billed to make sure those numbers were accurate. The Hot Springs has, the actual funding was reduced from initial value of $882, $431.92 to a final value of $877, $201.13. Preliminary final application payment release for retainage are attached. And then we have that documentation here, so. There was some stuff that wasn't used, and so those numbers came off that initial piece, so that's what you have in front of you right now. So we have a motion, and we have a second. Any council discussion?
Well, obviously, the motion has to be worded the same way that
Right.
Harrison Merrily recommended.
So I asked Councilman Adams to amend his motion.
I will do that, I will amend it to correspond with what's required.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made, second. Any council discussion? Questions? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
I,
4 ayes. Next is amend interior lot lines on the Nick Barber property. Submitted for approval by the town council is a simple relocate of common boundaries within a platted subdivision. Mr. Barber is wishing to relocate the boundary lines of lots 1, 2, and east 17 feet of lot 3 into amended lots 1 and 2, and there is an attached map. Mr. Barber owns the property on block 19 of the Pineville, which is actually the corner lots right here. What that was owned by multiple parties. Mr. Barber has purchased those lots. They were little pieces, and he's asking to straighten the lot lines back up instead of having them cut into a bunch of little pieces. This does meet all of our zoning requirements, and I believe this is being done by a surveyor.
Yeah, Parsons.
Karsten Surveying will be doing the actual work on this to put it all together. That has to be filed with the county and all that, but that's what Mr. Karstens does for them. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
no second.
Any council discussion on the lot line readjustment? No discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I,
4 ayes. Next is the Montana Department of Revenue application for retail on-premise consumption beer and wine license by Nick Barber. Nick is in the process of purchasing a beer and wine license. In the application, which the council has in front of them, is the application, but also there is a map of his proposed establishment. It will be in the front of his building over here on Main Street. It's got multiple public comment from multiple agencies. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll take the motion.
Do I have a second to approve?
I'll second.
Motion made, second. Any council discussion on the liquor license?
Sure, this is really new and interesting. And this list of, I guess, all the people that, all the agencies they're sending this application to.
Right, there's, they send to, I'll read it, it's Hot Springs City Council, Hot Springs City Attorney, Sanders County Sanitarian, Hot Springs Chief of Police, the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes, State Fire Marshal's Office, Deputy State Fire Marshal, and the State Building Inspector get asked specifically to comment. And then also, then they do have to advertise it in the local legal paper, county legal paper, which I believe right now is the Sanders County Ledger, and they have to publish it for a certain amount of time. I don't really know, it's 30 days. I don't remember that. So, any other council discussion?
Well, I was just wondering about the, the proximity to the family dwelling, and will there be a common wall that they're gonna go between the bar itself? Because the family dwelling's in the back, and I know there's a side entrance, but they've got kids and, you
Well,
know.
it has to meet all, they're not going to approve the building if it doesn't meet all the codes, and that, you know, the state isn't going to approve it. You know, like I do, they come in and they look through your business, and when it's done, you know, to make sure that everything is in compliance.
Sure, but we also have our own zoning and compliance here, and they're asking us for review as well, so.
But I was told this is common for every single license in the town, for the council to look it over.
Sure, I'm just trying to do what they're asking us to do. It's the first time I've seen it, you know, since we got the packet, so it's a good question anyway. What is our zoning compliance there? I know on Main Street businesses, you are able to reside in part of your business. Yeah. But we haven't had any new bars in a really long time.
No, and that's,
Yeah.
before me, probably the last new bar was actually this, probably the Creekside was probably the last new establishment with a liquor license. Except for name change, like I
Is
said.
that in the
rest-
city limits?
The Creekside? We're gonna
Good
move on
question.
up. So, I mean, that was, and that's been, when was that?
I bought that in 2004, I think.
Yeah, so
2005.
2004 was the last time that there was a liquor license.
Right, is this?
Or in a new establishment, there's been name changes or whatever, but the establishments are the same.
This is the liquor license that's in the town. It's not a new one coming from out of town.
So they're buying an existing beer and wine license and transferring from another business?
From who?
From
Me.
who? From you?
Oh.
Okay.
Well, then you should probably know about it.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
Well,
Is
and
there-
that's because the Creekside then
Bought the
subsequently
Y.
bought the
The
Wise
Wise.
full liquor license.
Yes.
And so they can sell the beer and wine consumption.
Well,
Nice.
so it mine.
Yeah, belongs to you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Any
Well,
other
if I'd known,
council
I probably
discussion?
would have sold mine. No, I'm just kidding. No, I guess not. If you think there's no rules.
I don't think they're in violation of anything the city has on zoning, and as Deanna pointed out, is you know, from the building inspector to the fire marshal's office. You know, the fire marshal's office and the building inspector office, they're gonna make sure it's safe. That's, you know, so I mean, that's what their job is that
And the
side of it.
sanitarian will inspect the site
sanitarian
and
for-
set the sinks and
All that
everything,
stuff.
all
I
the
mean,
plumbing, everything that needs
See,
to be
none
done.
of those things are ours, that's all
Yeah.
those different, the building is also mechanical, so I mean, they do all if there's any hoods or any vent fans or the bathroom, that's all under the building too, so that's all
Sure.
a different part, so. Any other council discussion on this? There's no other council discussion on this, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Alright,
4 ayes. Thank you. Next on the agenda item, Mary Whitsitt asked to have a couple things put on the agenda. It's the Main Street speed limit. I'll read this. Items for council, March 1st. public safety on Main Street. There's concerns expressed by employees of some Main Street businesses of unsafe speeds on Main Street involving early morning traffic and incidents throughout the day. Continuing U-turns on Main Street, even in the presence of a patrol car. Suggested remediation. Change the speed limit on Main Street from 25 mile an hour to 15 mile an hour. Mary asked between 7 and 7, and it'd be kind of tough to do that, but more likely it'd be 24 hours a day. But
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering if I should proceed with this, but I at least want to have discussion, because the first person that started, because I don't spend that much time on Main Street, but some people have big, huge picture windows right on Main Street, and Tammy Bernston, she was the first one that said she was really concerned. This has been several months ago. And another one of her employees, basically those two, she said, yeah, I want to go on record as having a concern here, because she says, I've seen some near misses, and I'm thinking that sooner or later. And what else I put on here was like, she said that for a while, that she said officers, what day was posted early in the morning, especially when the kids are going to school, and she said there was nothing, everybody was just fine down, but then when the officer was no longer on that morning watch, did the whole thing resume. Same thing, she said there was a flurry of activity at one point where one of the officers was stopping people doing U-turns, and then then that kind of went away. And at the bottom here, I put conspicuous postings of U-turn signs, because I lived here for so long, and I'm thinking, they say there's U-turn signs, but where are they? Okay, so if you're coming into town, you're a new person, you're coming into town, then you turn here, and you turn on Main Street, you'd think if there was no U-turns on Main Street, that would be posted somewhere, on the far side between the bank and Marinan's office. Because that's where you're just coming into Main Street. Where's the U-turn sign is posted? There's one at that end of Main Street, just when you're going kind of across Spring Street towards the library. Okay, so if you're coming, you can go all the way through Main Street, assuming that you turned in maybe from the neighborhoods on Wall. There is a no U-turn sign on Orchard, which is one block that way. I would imagine most of the traffic funnels in on Wall Street to come here, so then there's a U-turn, no U-turn there, just past Spring Street on Main Street. It's like, oh, there's a no U-turn, but I've just come all the way down Main Street, and then
I think I would be more concerned with the speed issue.
on the U-turn, I can answer that really quick, Mary, because when you brought this in and I saw this, I spoke to Ruben about it. And the U-turn signs, you said, are up in the city shop, they got ran over, and they just got knocked over, and they just never put them back up, which they can just put them back up, and
Yeah, okay,
if
so
you
that's
come down the
easy.
street the other way, there's lots of U-turn signs, but there's none when you go up the street, so I spoke with Ruben, but kind of wanted just to see how this played out tonight, because that was just last week, but they can get the U-turn signs back up, because they were there. You gotta remember that signage and speed limits is the council has to make those decisions on any signage or any speed limits. The U-turn signs were there, they got knocked down, so I don't think the council needs to make any, we just need to get them put back up. I mean, it was.
Okay, kind of where if somebody's coming into town,
And then they were, Ruben said they were in every block, there was a speed limit sign at every block, there was one at the bank,
okay.
there was one in front of the park here, and there was one at David's, at the Camus Bakery, there was one at his too,
Okay.
there used to be one at every block, he said,
I never.
they got ran over, in like you said, almost about a 2-month period, all three of them got ran over and
Okay.
It was a
knocked
bad
down.
winter.
I know.
So, it was people making U-turns, But back to Mary's, and I've already talked to Chad about the early morning stuff on the officers and stuff, but back to the speed limit, do we
Yeah,
want to?
I don't want to proceed with that. I'm
Okay.
afraid of unintended consequences, but I think
Okay.
maybe just more, just consistent,
Because I will tell you that early in the
Response by
morning when
officers.
we're out, and sometimes when I help the Public Works, or even I'm down early in the morning working, I do know that between about 5 and 7, I have witnessed people going, and they have to be at least doing 40 mile an hour up Main Street. Because they're late getting to work or whatever they're doing, they come around the corner, and they come around the corner slow, and they see that there's no one there, and they floor it, and down the street they fly.
Tammy was suggesting maybe some of the people are going to work early up at the nursing home. And so while we're on signs.
My kids are walking at
Oh, yeah.
7:25, so.
Oh, yeah.
You have a question on
Early,
sign,
and
Mary?
it's dark. Well, this might be something maybe at the Chamber of Commerce, Leslie, because every time I'm leaving town and I stop at that stop sign right in front of Spring Street, I notice that there's people that maybe haven't come here before, maybe they're coming here to go to your place, whatever. Okay, so they're very hesitant, they don't know, but once they get there, they don't know which way, they don't know which way is Main Street. Most, if you're on a highway, it'll say Business District, exit number. I think if you slapped a sign, Main Street for the downtown business people, right there where you're coming up, what's it called, Broadway? And so they'll know, oh, this way is to Main Street. And,
There actually is a sign in front of the bank right next to the alley that has a map of the town,
Yeah.
but underneath
yeah, it's
it
just
says
big.
Main Street.
Yeah.
I know what
Yeah,
Mary's talking
have
about,
to
and I
be
understand where she's
standing
going
there.
from.
You wanna see a
Much
Awesome
real
sign,
sign.
big,
Yeah,
awesome
because,
sign.
But that is more or less something for the city.
People hesitate, they don't know that that's kind of the right of way.
So they stop.
And if I'm sitting there and they're wondering, is it your turn? And it's not a four-way stop, and if there was just a Main Street sign like proceed and an arrow, that might just
Okay,
remove
we'll,
some of the hesitancy.
we'll have a sign made to put there, that's quick and simple.
Yeah, okay, okay, yeah.
Business district would be good, Main Street is fine. I think we already have, if you stop and look at that sign, it does say Main Street.
It's hard
Yeah,
to
but
see
it's-
that because of where it sits, and
It's
people are
underneath the
people are
map.
looking for street signs at
Yes,
that point when they
right.
come to town. They're used to
Yeah.
being in the town instead of,
Right.
you look over there and it looks like the bank, so you're kind of looking at that, but the
It's
business
really
district
nice
sign,
in the
you
alley,
really
too.
look into that, that's not a problem to do. If there's no other discussion,
I can just speak to the reason, I still find myself stopping at that corner. when I'm
we
coming
have
up
no, that's
Broadway.
state highway, we can't do nothing about it.
When you get to Spring Street
Yeah.
and
State
Broadway.
highway actually goes all the way to the alley, so that's why we have to have two stop signs there on Spring Street. It's required by the state of Montana.
Okay, I was curious, because you would
It's-
think the
it's-
through street would be able to go and you have
Right.
to stop.
When,
and I just-
probably
we
back in
automatically-
the, I believe the state made the town change that in the middle seventies, because that was a through street and stop sign was on Broadway, but because that is state highway all the way through, the state made them change that. That's why that's the way it is.
Just
That's it.
causes confusion.
Well, since you're talking about signs, and I know that's not the subject, can we fix the one by Six Shooter Pizza coming
Yeah.
into town?
We'll have to, I'll
that
talk to
because-
Thad about that. That's on state right away and that's a state sign too.
Can you talk to them,
I'll talk
because
to,
that's been down
I'll talk
for
to
a
the
while.
section boss about that.
Thank you.
Okay. Nothing more, we'll move on to window display of council minutes. Item for discussion is window display of council minutes. Change the present routine to include regular public display of town council minutes in the front window of town hall. When ready, draft minutes so designated shall be put in the front window such that people may easily read them from the sidewalk and as soon after the town council meeting as possible. When approved, final minutes so designated shall be placed on public display in the town hall front window for such a time that the next draft minutes are approved and so on. Purpose is to keep the public informed of council activities. A number of people have informed me that they'd rather not venture inside town hall unless absolutely necessary. Others don't have internet or complain the website is often out of date. And also on that, back to if the draft minutes were on there, maybe like tonight's discussion wouldn't have happened because you can bring your bring the concerns in before they become final minutes and before they get put in the council packet. That would alleviate some of that, is when you see a mistake then in the draft minutes, you can bring it to the attention and they can be fixed prior. So this is, when I got this from you, I thought that was a great idea, just because it gives us that chance to fix those before it comes to the meeting.
Right.
Then hopefully when the minutes come to the meeting for approval, they are fine, you know, so,
I would only add the quote of Abraham Lincoln that said, give the people the information and you can count on them to make the right decisions. And the sooner they have it, the better, is the way I look at it.
okay. I don't think this needs council action, but I mean, it's a good idea, we'll start that this month. Any communications or public comment on non-agenda items? Janelle?
So I did, again, something for clarification, you talked about for the Banditos, extra officers, and there's a STEP grant. So is Hot Springs not,
I'll explain what the STEP grant is. The STEP grant's for DUIs. It's under a DUI funding. We have looked into it, and I've been hesitant to get it for this reason. STEP grant is a contact grant. You have to make as many traffic stops as possible for any reason. So that's when you're pulling people over because they have the cracked windshield, you're pulling people over because they have the license plate light out, you're pulling people over for any reason you can find to stop them and make the contact. They don't tell you to write any tickets or nothing, but you make the contact. So then when they make this stop, then they ask for your driver's license, your vehicle registration, your insurance, and they visit with you a minute to see, of course it's paid for by DUI funds, so they're looking for DUIs to make our roads safer and on and on and on. If you'd like me to pursue that grant to get my officers on that, I sure will, but I have not pursued that grant. And what comes with that grant comes with a lot of other paperwork too. I mean, it's not just, they don't just give you free money. I believe when I looked into it, they were gonna give us $3,000. You have to bring an officer back on. You cannot have an officer working a regular shift do it. You have to bring an officer back on to do it. He cannot answer any other calls unless it's a life or death emergency. He has to work traffic continuously. And that's why I have chose not to do that, but like I said, if the public would like us to, we can pursue it.
Just tell them that Janelle asked for it.
Oh, Janelle asked for it, that's what I'll tell them. But that's why we didn't pursue that grant, and like I said, I think it's $3,000 it was for the first time, and then if you make a bunch of contacts and meet this criteria for the town size, then they'll give you like $5,000 the next time. It kind of steps up, and the county does, and it works well for the county because they can go and do it in areas and go out on the highway and work the highway. Like the other night, they worked the highway. One of the county officers pulled the vehicle over and got one of the largest meth busts in Sanders County history.
Whoa, that was good.
The following night, out here, yes. The following night, they, Highway Patrolman stopped a vehicle because he was working the same deal with them, and had a very large amount of marijuana in it, so, distribution style amount, so then that's what those grants are for, but they're stopping people for anything they can find, they're just making stop after stop after stop, so. Another reason, someone said the other reason they did is because that was the night of the tournament in Pablo, so all the Hot Springs people were coming back from the Pablo tournament too. But I don't know of any Hot Springs people that got stopped out there. I don't know of any, but no one said anything to me about being stopped. So, is there any other communications or public comment on agenda items?
On
non-agenda items.
Yes, I would like to, my name is Deanna Peters, and I quit going to the meetings for a long time, and last month I decided to come. And there was a lot of people like there is here, and I do believe in the transparency of the council and stuff like that, but boy, there was a lot of attacking and a lot of, we have 2 new members now that are on the council that just got voted in, and I hope they realize that things just go a certain way and there isn't any kind of a secrecy meeting. I don't know what you guys are looking to find, but I just want to say that it was really sad to see it last time I was here, all the hate going around. And I just felt really bad about that. I've lived here for almost 15 years, and it was just real disheartening to see that, because it's been a really good community, people helping people, and I just didn't feel like that last month, so, and I'm glad this meeting went a lot better. It gives me a glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
So, and I'm
Thank you,
still
Deanna.
gonna come.
Thank you, Dan.
Pertinent to last meeting, I have to register my objection again, and want to go on record that at a civil, standard, democratic meeting, there is no reason to have a police officer in the room. I would like to bring up another thing, which is